It's a pleasure having you with us. So Sanjay Indani sir, a food technologist by qualification, is currently the food safety head of Safe Food Solutions, which is one of the leading organizations engaged in consultancy and training of various international food safety systems. His company also assists and guides food industries for compliance to Indian legal requirements, that is, Food Safety and Standards Act. The organization, formed under the guidance of Sanjay Indani sir, has experienced food safety experts, trainers, microbiologists, and food technologists to assist and ensure food safety throughout the food chain. He is going to discuss with us about food allergen management, its significance and protocols. Allergen management is very crucial and a challenging task in the food industry. With multiple raw materials, various variants, and limited resources, it becomes tough to comply to the requirements. Many food professionals either are not fully aware of the requirements or try to overdo and thus create issues. Sanjay Indani sir is the perfect expert to discuss this topic with us. Hope you all are excited for this webinar, dear participants. Before starting, a kind reminder once again, kindly keep your audio and video muted throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, type them in the chat box. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'll hand over the session to Sanjay Indani sir. Welcome, dear sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, TechnoAce, for arranging this session. I'm really happy that you are doing a good job towards integrating the industry professionals with the academicians and students and working in the interest of food technologists. So let me take you through my presentation. So what are allergens? Many times we don't understand the allergens, and then we get into various issues. So allergen is any substance, when we talk in general, which is eaten or inhaled, and it may cause allergic reaction. But when we talk about food, when the food which is allergen is consumed, it creates certain allergic reaction. So approximately 170 foods have been reported to cause allergic reactions. Now you may get surprised with the number, but let me tell you, 90% of the allergies are due to 8 allergens which are declared and followed by most of the countries, and that is why we call them as a big 8 allergen. So there is no cure as of now for severe allergic reactions. So hence prevention is always better. It is not necessary that the allergens will cause always a severe reactions. Many allergens show the mild symptoms, and some of the allergens may require further testing to understand the allergic actions. So food allergy is an adverse response by the body to the allergenic proteins. The symptoms may include mouth swelling, vomiting, diarrhea, eczema, coughing, swelling, body rash, and leading to most dangerous, that is life threatening. So when we say the allergen are important, any pre-packed or non-pre-packed food which either contains ingredient or the processing aid which is allergen, or contain any of the allergen which is listed, or any allergen has been used as a part of manufacturing or preparation of food. So it require allergen declaration. So if we look at the data, more than 37% of the product rejection happens due to allergen issues. So almost one third are due to undeclared allergens or any other labeling issues. So what are the causes of such incidences? A very important is unintentional presence of an allergen. Now, during production, there are high chances that cross contamination may occur. We have to be very careful when we are handling multiple allergens. There is also possibility that the allergen is wrongly used in the recipe and it creates a problem. Mispacking or wrong packaging. In packaging machines, whenever there is a product changeover, they are not managed properly, and that may lead to a mispackaging or wrong packaging. So packaging management is inadequate at that place, and hence it creates a problem. Sometimes wrongly labeling is seen in the industry. That may be due to the poor communication in the departments. Again, ineffective change management. And whenever there are changes in the packaging material, they are not approved, they are not verified, and that may create a problem. Printing errors are very significant to lead to these packaging and allergen related problems. So you must be aware of big 8 allergens. So can we have a list of big 8 allergens? Which allergens you are aware of? Can I see your message in a chat box? Which allergens you are aware of? Satish says peanut. Okay. Soy, milk. Sarath says milk. Radhika says fish, meat. Okay, very good. Mayank says egg. Shrutika says wheat. Excellent. Very good. And someone says crustaceans. Very good. Rinal says moong. Moong is not part of allergen. Nita says mustard. Of course, yes. Vikrant says lactose. Lactose is not allergen, Vikrant. Milk protein is considered as allergen. Very good. Excellent. So these are big 8. Are you aware that Indian regulation has declared certain allergens? Are you aware that Indian regulation, food safety regulation, has declared allergens? Okay, very good. So any 8 allergens declared. Very good. Prakash says 8 allergens. Now, if you see the big 8 list and the list declared by food safety regulation, what is the difference? Can you tell me one allergen which is added extra to this list of big 8? Because actually, if you count as per the international thing, it becomes a 9 allergen, but it is condensed into 8 allergen. So which allergen is added extra from the list of 14? Any answer? Because whatever you mentioned, all those, no, coconut is not part of Big 8, and neither it is addressed in the food safety regulation. Sesame is not there. Lupin is part of Big 14. Okay. Yeah, wheat is there, soya is there. I'm asking which allergen from the Big 8 is not there in Big 8 but added. Absolutely, Prakash, you are right. Prakash Chavan has given a correct answer. It is sulfite. Sulfite, which is part of 14 allergen, is added into Indian regulation as a 8th allergen. Now tell me, if these are 8 allergens, which 2 allergens are clubbed together from the Big 8 list? Which 2 allergens are clubbed? Which 2 allergens are clubbed? Can you guess? Yes, Shraddha, sulfite is added here, but my point is which 2 allergens? Absolutely. Ravjit, yes, peanut and soybean. Uh, Questions will take at the end, no problem. Okay. So peanut and soybean is clubbed together here. If you see in the third point, it is clubbed peanut and soybean product of these. If you look at the big 8 allergens internationally, they have peanut separately and soybean separately. And sulfites are part of 14 allergen, and that includes celery, lupin, molluscus, sesame, and sulfite. So this list is included in food safety regulation and now made mandatory to declare allergen content in the product. So Codex, US FDA, European Union, okay, these multiple agencies have the requirement of allergen declarations. So what are the allergen management protocols? What are the different control aspects? Can you tell me, where do you think the allergen should be controlled? Can I get some answers in chat box? What do you think? Where should I control allergen? Is it only in the packaging? Okay, Ravjit says storage. Very good. Of course. Cleaning, manufacturing process, raw material. Excellent. Labeling, changeover. Absolutely correct. And declaration. Very good. Excellent. So at incoming raw material. So someone said raw material. Okay. So whenever you receive raw material, certainly you need to have control there. Very good. Right from raw material procuring to processing, segregation is important. Prakash says, very good, Prakash. Yes, absolutely correct. Printing of packaging material, manufacturing processes, as you people said, cleaning, again, it was mentioned by someone, cleaning, product innovation, R&D. This is one of the stage where you should consider allergen management. The allergen management starts from there. Okay. Anytime we'll take care of this. Some disturbance. Okay, thank you. So product innovation, R&D is one of the key stage where you have to start considering allergen management. Labeling and regulatory compliances. And as someone told, I think Prakash has told, training, a very classic example. So, what are the aspects or protocols to be followed in raw materials? So, when you say raw material, it starts with the vendor production site. It is not only the receiving. You need to consider the allergen management program at vendor's end. And that is the best methodology to establish controls to prevent cross contamination. There are two terms used in allergen management. One is cross contamination and second is cross contact. So cross contact is equally responsible to have an allergen problem. So establish control measures at vendor production site so you are aware what type of allergens are handled at the vendor site. So what are the chances of cross contamination? What allergens are added? Specifically compound ingredients. We were doing allergen management program at one of the vendors, and that vendor has a chocolate compound which is used as an ingredient in the product. And we looked at the label. So label says milk and nuts, these two allergens. How about chocolate? So they said no, it's pure chocolate, there's nothing added. When we went through the formulation of the compound chocolate, we found that soy lecithin was one of the ingredient in the compound chocolate. So it is very, very important that you establish the ingredient and the content of your compound ingredient. So cross contamination during the production, when the raw material was produced, when the ingredient was produced. Then we have storage. So as it was told by Shruti, storage of raw materials, yes, of course. So what are the important aspects in storage? It requires a clear labeling: allergen, non-allergen. Now many times this is considered significant that the labeling of allergen and non-allergen is important. Do you think that cross contact between the allergen is also important? Can I have your answer in chat box? Cross contact between two allergens. Very good. So that is what we need to understand and we need to consider when we have the labeling in the storage. So segregation of allergen and non-allergen and segregation between the allergens. That should be a part of consideration. Batching or mixing or recipe formation or formulation. So dedicated tools to be used. What do you think? When I say dedicated tool, what is the best methodology to use or to identify the dedicated tools for different allergens? How do I do that? Because I have milk powder, I have wheat flour. Okay, one is labeling, second is declaration. Very good, excellent. There's someone called user which says color coding. Prakash also says color coding. Absolutely correct. So color coding is important. So when you have color coding, that helps everyone to understand the compliances. So color coding of tools gives you better importance, better usage, better controls. It is very important that you should consider, are there chances of dust which is produced during the batching or during the processing and which may create a cross contamination. Again, we had a one classic example. One of process we were verifying, and during that process we found that in a same processing area the production of multiple products are happening. Fair enough, no problem, because of the space constraint, because of the process, that is bound to happen, and there may not be segregation. But on one of the machine, almonds are cleaned, and during that cleaning, during that vibro sifting, lot of dust comes out of almond, and that falls on the other product, other surfaces, tables, packaging material, and that may create a contamination. So it is very relevant and very important to look into, are there any contamination due to the dust formation during batching process. And when we talk about material, rework is a very important material. So I hope you are aware of rework terminology. And can you tell me what is the significance of rework? Okay, some are saying no, they are not familiar with rework. Rework is a product which is received, or the material which is received during the process, or which is generated during the process. I'll tell you one example, classic example. In your colleges, in your professional life, you must have prepared cookies. So you make a sheet and prepare or punch the cookies, and what do you do with the remaining dough? What do you do with the remaining dough? That remaining dough comes back to the process, isn't it? So that sheet, after punching the cookies, the remaining sheet comes back as a dough to the process, and that is called as rework. You must have seen milk processing. In milk processing, at filling station or on the filling machine, you may get certain pouches which are underweight or which are not sealed properly. Now these pouches, these packets cannot be rejected as such or disposed, but these can be taken for rework purpose. Okay, so it goes into rejection, and from rejection it goes into rework. It is not disposed. So it is kind of recycling, recirculation, but the term is rework because you are reworking on the content. Sometimes rework also goes into reprocessing, or sometimes it is used as such. So when we talk about allergen with respect to rework, it is very important that which allergen is present in the rework, and that rework is used in the same product or it is used in the another product. So that may create a contamination of rework. So rework management is one of the very important aspect in the allergen management. So packaging material, what controls we should have? Very important, you should have a system and or a checklist when you are labeling or packing final product. It's very, very important so that the things will not go wrong. Someone has to go and verify that the correct packaging material is used for the correct product. Many times it sounds funny. What is the need? People are working since last 25 years. But it is very, very important because the things are changing. People are not aware. That seriousness may not be there. Ignorance could be there. To overcome all these problems, you have to have a kind of procedure, kind of checklist, kind of record, kind of verification for this purpose. So you can have a simulation with the inaccurate product to test whether the system is working or not. You can challenge the existing system, existing verification to verify whether the system is working or not working. It is again advisable here to have a color coding for the packaging material. So whenever the packaging material is used or printed, or labeled, so that label can be color coded. So it's easy to understand, easy to represent and interpret. So whenever there is any discrepancy, labeling discrepancy, you should look into whether the product disposition was done properly. Again, it should not create any problem in the allergen cross contamination. So multiple stages, we should have verification of product label and its accuracy, not only in the receiving, but also during processing at the time of dispatch. It is very, very important. So you can have methods for tracking lots and codes for tracking the material through the production, storage, shipping, and you can check whether this methodology is performing and giving result. So even in the dispatch, you should store finished product as per the allergen. So you can have marking and do it. So very seldom followed this methodology because we are aware that the external packaging material has product details, okay? But there are a couple of examples also in the industry that during loading, if we have to ship product A, the product B got mixed up. And there are a couple of examples in the industry. So manufacturing process, what is important is first you need to understand the risk associated due to allergens. So multiple products, you must have allergen matrix. It is very difficult in the industry to follow the production schedule as per the allergen matrix because the customer demands are changing, okay, internal availability of raw material, there are many challenges. Priority change, marketing has different requirement, so it becomes very difficult. So for that you have to have adequate risk assessment done and sufficient controls established. So when we talk about mixing and then processing, we need to see whether we have dedicated lines for that. If not, then we have to have other controlled methodologies to handle the shared lines. So allergen matrix will help you to schedule the program, production, and accordingly reduce the changeover time reduce the cleaning sanitation, and reduce the risk of allergen cross-contamination. So product change or cleaning has to be very particular, specific, and more detailed and more deep cleaning required during the product changeover. So whatever control measures you have, it's required that you validate those control measures in addition to monitoring and verification it on a regular basis. So cleaning as a part of control, as a part of protocol, you may have wet cleaning or you may have a dry cleaning process. Wet cleaning is more beneficial. As we know, we can ensure that the product residues, allergen residues are removed. But in certain cases, certain products, we can't do wet cleaning. Yes, you can do CIP, COP based on the process. But if I'm talking about spice manufacturing, spice processing, I can't do wet cleaning. My process, my product doesn't allow that. So then I left with the dry cleaning. So how do I ensure that the allergen residues are removed by adequate dry cleaning? That need to be looked into. It is one of the challenging tasks in the industry. There are many dried products, powder products, where I can't use wet cleaning process. Because whenever we talk about cleaning, we talk about wet cleaning. And through wet cleaning, we can have a better, efficient removal of allergens. But when we do dry cleaning, we have to be very, very particular. We have to look into those aspects, how we are going to do it, how the effectiveness can be increased. So for that, we have to again validate the cleaning method. We should monitor it, verify frequently. That is one of the requirements. So when you say product innovation or you are reworking on the recipes due to various factors, maybe due to competition, maybe cost constraints, or maybe new product development, whatever, you need to consider, am I using any new allergen, and will this new allergen will bring any impact on the current process? That is very, very important, because I have seen many times the R&D people, R&D staff, they will innovate the product, and when it comes to application, when it comes to commercial production, we get stuck up with so many challenges, and one of the biggest challenges is allergen management. So then we have to look into how to prevent, how to minimize the cross contamination. But it is always better that you take care of these aspects at the time of research and development. Someone spoke about training. Yes, very important. Unless you have adequate training, you can't ensure that allergen management program protocols are followed. So where are the cross contact points? Where are the cross contamination points? Identify those and educate people on that. What is the flow of allergenic ingredient and products? People should be aware. What are the current policies the staff, food handler should be aware of? A very classic example is hygienic requirement, and simple is hand washing between the allergen management, allergen handling. There are certain standards which ask for change of protective clothing between the allergen handling. Now, this is one of the challenge in the Indian industry to have so many changes while handling the allergens, which is not possible. Waste control. So the waste can contribute to the allergen contamination, and this is one of the important area which you need to focus and train the people on the waste control. We spoke about river, so training of river, training on the different industry uses different type of packaging material for river handling. Now it can be liners, PP liners, it can be HDP bags, it can be boxes, it can be crates. How do you prevent the contamination or reuse of these packaging material or handling material? Because that can be a source of cross contamination. And it is really a challenging to handle this, to manage this. Okay. Cleaning procedures, we discussed, so people should be aware of cleaning procedures. We had a classic example. I just want to quote here. Someone mentioned about CIP. Vinod Kumar has spoke about CIP. Now, in industry, there is a common CIP tanks, and the CIP water is recirculated. So first flush is drained, and second flush is retained, which is reused for the next first flush. So when we looked into that, the second flush of one allergen was used for first flush of another allergen. So the CIP process itself was wrong. And those incidences were not very common. Isolated incidents, maybe once in month. But it is one of the key concern area, and people should be trained on that. So dedicated equipments, we spoke about storage, so storage training, storage of final product, identification. What are the labeling procedures? People should be aware how to schedule the production based on the allergen matrix, and in case of any problem, how to manage that discrepancy. People should be aware of what are the immediate steps should be taken. R&D team should be trained, and not only this, a key staff which need to be trained on allergen is a maintenance staff. Many times maintenance people are not considered very important as a allergen management process, but they are key people, I would say, because they are handling equipments, repairing equipments, and they need to understand the impact of their activity on the allergen management program. So whenever you issue a COA or letter of guarantee or any commitment, people should be aware of this cross contact and cross contamination. So as we discussed, regulatory requirement, food safety regulation labeling and display 2020 includes the allergen labeling requirement. Now whatever discussed here as a part of protocol, as a part of management, that is not it mandatory under the Indian regulation. But by virtue of various requirements, various food safety requirements, you may be complying to FSC 22000, you may be complying to BRC, you may be complying to other standards. So by virtue of that, by virtue of customer requirements, it becomes mandatory to comply, to implement, to assure these things. So as we discussed, US FDA has a stipulated requirement, European Union has stipulated requirement on the allergen labeling, so you have to comply to that. To summarize, we discussed about assessment of raw material, review of specification and understanding the suppliers program, suppliers process. We should have a list of allergen containing material. Many times I have seen in the industry, they have a list like gluten is mentioned in the list. Ideally, you should have what material is allergen. So instead of gluten, you say wheat flour. Okay. So that will give better understanding to the people. So documented risk assessment, considering physical state of the material, if it is powder, if it is more sensitive, if it is liquid, may not be so significant because there will be less dust. So assess the risk of cross contamination, identify suitable controls at various places, establish various procedures for effective management of allergen cross contamination, focus on segregation, possibly look at the color coding of protective clothing. So some people who are handling allergen, they will have a different clothing than the non-allergen or than the other allergen. So try to schedule the production, which will reduce the changes between the product and ultimately will reduce contamination. So allergen warnings on the label, so that is allergen declaration. Understand the regulatory requirement of importing country, what allergens they have, how to declare. And this is not only important for B2C, that is consumer product, packed product, but it is also important for bulk products, B2B, business to business. So if you are working in the industry where you have bulk products handled, it is very, very important that you have to have these kind of controls, identifications. Okay. Cleaning tools, cleaning equipments, color coding as per the allergen. Any claims regarding allergen which is given, are they suitable? That need to be verified. We spoke about rework generation, rework storage, rework processing, rework addition. Okay, all those you need to look into. In nutshell, you have to work towards avoiding cross contamination, understand the flow of allergenic ingredient and products. You have to have allergen control policies, establish hygienic procedures, waste control, rework management procedure, cleaning processes, dedicated equipments or dedicated supplies, work towards storage of ingredient and final product, look into labeling, schedule the production, and handle the discrepancies so that it will not create a problem, work towards product formulation right from that time, and look into later guarantee.
So now we have reached the end of this session. Thanks a lot, Sanjay sir, for this insightful presentation. It was very interesting and it was a delight having you with us today. Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure.
sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for organizing such a wonderful webinar. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.